Is my life progressing in a healthy way?
Brannon, what is going on, man?
What's going on is you're becoming a grandpa.
They just right as we were getting ready to record this, you got the text message, it sounds like.
Yeah, I did. Like, looks like it's happening today.
Oh man, holy cow, dude. Yep, it's she actually went in last night, but they're thinking it's probably gonna happen maybe tonight sometime or maybe tomorrow morning sometime. But man, my mind is just being blown right now.
Yeah, that's you're crossing a threshold. You- These are the last moments of you not being a grandpa. You'll be a grandpa for the rest of your life.
I know. It's so crazy, man. It's so crazy. It's funny too, because like I don't feel that old at all. Like I still picture myself being probably in my like late 20s, early 30s, but I went to Chase, Chase, he's been on the show a couple of times for our listeners, but I went to his baby's blessing yesterday. And it was just awesome. It was so cool to have like a full community of people there that loved Chase too. You should have seen the church building and the chapel. It was just chock full of people who love him, you know.
That's because they're awesome. Yeah,
And
Chase is amazing. So
yeah,
is
yeah. But then I go to the luncheon afterwards, and everybody's coming up to me and they're saying, "Hey, you're you look way young today. Like you look so much younger than normal." I'm like, "What do you mean?" They're like, "Oh, you shaved." Like, so when I shave clean shaven, I like lose 20 years off of how I look, I guess. But with my white beard, I look like I'm like 70, and I guess I look normal about 45 when I'm clean shaven. So I think I'm gonna clean shave from now on all the time, just because I picture myself being younger that way.
well, embrace being the sage, the grandpa.
Oh
Like,
man. Oh,
grow it out, grow it all the way out.
it's
Yeah.
crazy, man. That's one of the reasons why we're going to do the topic we are today. But before we get into that, I have to follow up on this because I promised somebody at the luncheon yesterday that I would ask something to you.
Oh no.
They
Oh
were
no.
saying that they love the stories that we tell about like our childhood, and particularly this guy said he's like, I just want to hear another story about Biggs. He's like, I don't even know the guy, but I love Biggs. Like, ask Brandon to tell another story about Biggs.
Oh God. I could go on for days. Biggs is the best. He's my favorite person.
He's
Like
an
he
incredible
he
person.
truly is. I love him. Um, but I got immediately, a rabbit cage pops in my
I
mind.
thought of that story too right off the bat. So tell the story, Brandon. Tell the story about the rabbits. The rabbit,
Well,
not our story about the rabbits, but about the rabbit cage.
yeah, I mean, wow, when we were kids,
How old how old do you think we were? Probably.
oh, we're probably 7 or 8, and um, for some reason, we had a bunch of near beer at the house, so we were slamming the near beer.
Like O'Doul's or something.
The
I think that's
non-alcoholic.
the first time you tasted it and you like liked it.
Oh, talk about redneck. Like when I'm 8, I was like slamming near beer. Um, I can't believe I'm not an alcoholic.
Oh, dude.
So me and Biggs are slamming the near beer at his house. Like,
Probably stole it from like Uncle Doug's fridge or something.
yeah, yeah. Um, so we got the near beer going, and it's like middle of the day, and our aunt brought us out cheese sandwiches. It was 2 pieces of Wonder Bread, a little bit of not mayo, Miracle Whip,
Miracle Whip for sure.
and a Kraft piece of American cheese. One piece. A Miracle Whip, one piece of American cheese, 2 pieces of Wonder Bread. Oh, it's so good. So good. I prefer mayo over Miracle Whip, but
All day long.
so that was our lunch, and we're sitting up in his backyard, and under his deck there was this rabbit cage, and Biggs, for some reason, he just needed a little more protein, and he opened up his sandwich and he grabbed a handful of rabbit poo from under the cage, and he throws it on his sandwich, and he closes the sandwich and eats the whole thing. And so what do you know? Like later that night, like right when we're about to go to bed, Biggs is like, oh, oh, and he just starts barfing like all night long, just throwing up. Just oh
What
man.
was he thinking?
He wanted the protein, I guess. I don't know. Maybe the fiber. So moral of the story is don't eat rabbit poo.
On your cheese sandwich.
Yeah. I mean, maybe he wanted a little more on that sandwich. I don't blame him. Oh man.
Oh, that
I
was
got more big stories later, but I hope that one worked.
that totally works, man.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was looking for.
Biggs is famous now. We got to have him on as a guest.
We need to have him. He could come
Yeah.
on and be a great guest for us sometime.
I mean, just really quick about him, like, they have some kids with some challenges, and he and his wife are two of the most incredible parents that I've ever seen. Like, I'd love to talk to him about how he's managed that and done that because they have done phenomenal with their children. So we should bring him on.
Yeah, we should. They are phenomenal parents. So
Um,
love you, Biggs.
absolutely. Um, okay, so you're becoming a grandpa. We're talking about maybe we can work this big story into this episode a little bit.
I don't know.
Um,
Actually, maybe we got here. Maybe we got maybe some of the stages we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about Erikson's stages of development today, and part of that is because I was just telling you how old I feel and wondering where I was, stage of life, big chapter changing right now. At least for me, it kind of feels that way. So,
I
um,
think I think these stages, Tyler, are so eye-opening. Like Erikson nailed this, and they're also really informative as you look at your life, and you can help. It can help guide you a little bit of where life's going and what's happening with life, and you'll see these things playing out. So it's just really interesting to know what these are, to go through them, and to understand them.
yeah, yeah. So we're going to kind of go walk through them and maybe share some examples and stories as we go through, Brannon. But the challenge here is to think about, as you're listening, to think about how you have or are navigating some of these stages yourself. And that's what Erikson talks about here is that these are kinds of things that most human beings go through just in the way that we develop as human beings. And the navigation of each of these stages sort of reinforces and produces a certain kind of a virtue, right? And sometimes you navigate them in healthy ways, and sometimes you navigate them in unhealthy ways, and then that of course affects the way that you view the world, and that affects your outcomes in life, and all of those things as well.
It basically it goes one way or the other. It's either a crisis or a virtue. And so as you navigate this, that virtue is what you gain, what you learn, like that beautiful thing. Or you end up in a crisis. And as we go through these, I hope that people are honest with themselves as they look at their life and where they're at right now and where they've been, of like, oh, I definitely in that stage of development was more in crisis than gaining that virtue. Um, so should we dive in?
Yeah, well, and I'd say that the crisis itself sometimes helps produce the virtue if it's navigated properly.
Exactly. Like if you're able to navigate through that, you can get to the virtue.
Yeah.
Um, so there's 8 stages. Stage one, trust versus mistrust. So think about this as we go through this. Think about as you grow up and grow old. So the first stage is infancy. It's when you're first born. You are trying to figure out whether or not you can trust your caregivers or whether or not you feel a lack of trust.
Right. And this begins from even before you're able to be conscious or think properly, right? And to tie this in, some of the other research that we know on a different theory about attachment is that our attachment styles right from the very beginning are being shaped and informed as a result of this idea of trust versus mistrust. So if I have a
From
parent,
the get-go.
what's that?
From the get-go. Yes.
Yeah, right. So if I have a parent who is, ignores my pleas for attention, usually in the form of crying or something, um, that's going to help shape the way that I navigate the world and what I start to believe and form in terms of whether or not I'm safe in this world. If
Yep.
I have someone who's punitive in the way that I respond, that's going to shape things. If I have someone who's warm and responsive, that's going to shape the way I believe and see the world. And so
Yep.
infants learn trust or mistrust of their caregivers um, right from the very beginning.
You know what's interesting is the virtue with this one is hope. And it's, you don't think of like a little infant, like your new grandbaby that's going to be born, developing something right off the bat. All she's going to do is poop, eat, and sleep, right? But in the background of all of that is she is like it's all about hope when you're first born because it's about the future. It's about where you're going from here. So if you feel secure, you have that secure attachment, it just feeds that hope. If you don't have that, then you start immediately living in a state of survival, crying all the time, lashing out, trying to get your needs met. You're not actually developing hope. You're just trying to survive. Um, should we go to the next one?
Yeah, stage two is Erikson calls it autonomy versus shame and doubt. Now, you think about this in the terms of like what you hear on our show talked a lot about with shame. Erikson's saying that this is beginning really, really early, that as we're starting to kind of navigate our world, this is from about 18 months to 3 years that typically people will be navigating this sort of stage in this crisis. And really, what this is about, you think about it, Brannon, like I remember, is like a toddler is starting to like wanting to enforce their will on the world, right? They want to like, I don't know if you remember this or not, but we were watching here at mom and dad's place. We were teenagers at the time, and I think we were watching one of our like little nephews or something, and he was kind of just in the stage of like potty training, and he finally like nailed it, and he
I
went to
remember.
the he went to the bathroom and he like had this massive accomplishment where he took a dump in the toilet and we're like, oh, okay, good for you. Then we go to flush it. And right when we go to flush it, he just like, he just lost. He was like, don't flush it. Don't flush it. Like,
You remember that story? I remember that so well.
because it was so, I think because it was so funny, but really what it was like showing is this is the stage that Erikson is talking about is like I want to be able to start to own my own choices and I want to be able to impose my will on this world that I'm living in, even as young as being a toddler, right?
Right, right. It's interesting. Like it's kind of cute, but it's like, they'll have like a thing of food, right? And you're like, hey, don't drop that on the floor. And they'll just like slowly push it off, like, and they'll be looking at you the whole time, like,
They're just watching you as they
drop it on the floor. Like,
yeah.
yeah. So they're developing they're developing a sense of independence and trying to figure out that attachment. And ultimately the virtue is their will to do what they want. And it's important to develop that sense of will. So, um,
I think
okay.
sometimes you
Oh,
see but when a child doesn't really get that opportunity to practice that will, what you see as they get older is that they have a lot harder time with decision making and with being able to take leadership for their own lives. They're kind of at the mercy of whoever tells them whatever they need to do.
yeah. Yes. That's a good point, Tyler. I mean, all of these things when crisis takes over and you don't gain that virtue, it 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 comes out later. Like there's consequences later for it.
Yeah, and it can come out
Um,
sideways sometimes as well.
yeah, like it's interesting working with couples and when it really gets stressful and hard, what you'll see is one of the other partners start acting like a toddler, start acting like a child, because they haven't developed beyond that. And so when stress comes and it's difficult, you'll see the lack of development take place. Um, okay, stage three. Um, well, I want to back up just a little bit with stage two, autonomy versus shame and doubt. Just because we talk about shame all the time, you can see this is where it's starting to develop. Like already early on, it's starting to develop. And when you don't have a sense of self and know who you are, your autonomy and understand who you are, you start to forget that. And you start to develop an idea of who you are. And that right there, we're starting about this, we're talking about the seeds of shame,
Yeah,
right?
or think about when you finally start to learn to assert your will in the world, and if you're too often either ignored or punished for it, because because there is no other way to look at the world than from a self-centered view as a toddler, the messages that you start to receive can definitely fuel that idea of shame and doubt. Um,
Yes.
Especially coming off of trust versus mistrust. So now, am I getting rejected for certain reasons? And the only way that I can put that together is that I must be bad or wrong or something, right?
Yeah. Yep. Which this next one goes right along with it. So stage three is initiative versus guilt. So children assert themselves more frequently and develop a sense of purpose and social interaction. Um, so this is where you're starting to figure out purpose a little bit. Who are you in your purpose? Are you going to take initiative? What's your place in the world? Or are you not stepping into that initiative and then feeling guilt because you're not?
That's right. And you're also being stepped into places where social interactions with peers are starting to take place. You know, you're starting to go to certain nursery school in church or preschool. And so you're also figuring out a little bit just the very beginning parts of like social interaction and also where you fit in with that.
Yeah, like I remember in kindergarten, I was trying to use scissors to cut something, and I grabbed left-handed scissors and I was trying to cut this thing and it wouldn't cut. And I'm like thinking like what's wrong with me? And this teacher's aide came over and did not handle the situation well. She's like, "Why do you keep trying to use the left-handed scissors, blah blah blah." And I remember feeling so guilty because I was using the wrong scissors. And um like if you think about that, that's stupid that I should feel any guilt about that, right? But at that stage of development for me, something about that social interaction, I had massive amounts of guilt about something like that, right?
Yeah,
So,
because you don't know any other way to look at it again, right?
yeah. Um, okay, so should we go to the stage four?
Stage four is industry versus inferiority. So this is ages, 6 to 11 according to Erikson. And in essence, there you're starting to acquire the ability to work and be competent. So that's when you start going to school and you start getting grades, and those grades start to measure whether or not you're competent, right? There's again the more social demands and where you fit in, and so there's a lot of pressure to perform and show that you measure up, that you make the cut, so to speak, that you make the grade. Um, and kids 6 to 11 spend a lot of time trying to figure out where they're going to land there.
What am I good at?
Yep.
I mean, we're starting that 6 to 11. And I remember in school, like comparing myself to others of, Gall, he's really good at building stuff, and I'm not as good as him. Um, and so, like, what am I good at? How do I fit into this world in terms of my contribution? And how am I going to contribute? And you think 6 to 11, you're thinking about that, but you are when you're in school. What grades do I get? How well do I do? Am I going to excel or not?
I remember, I remember in sixth grade, I had this like nickname that Mrs. Angela Weirden, if you remember her.
Oh, how could I forget?
She gave me the name Angel Boy, and then I remember that I got like one day I got like three assignments ahead on my spelling, and she like pointed it out in front of the class like how amazing I was at spelling. And so I came home one day and it was getting to be the time for the school spelling bee. And I was like, "Ah, I'm gonna kill it at the spelling bee because I'm so good at spelling because I've been told." So I sat down and mom had me like write down every word on the list like four times. And we get to the spelling bee, and then I get like into the top 10 of the school on the spelling bee, and then they give me a word, and the word was talc, like talcum powder.
Oh
And
yeah.
I
Uh,
spelled talc.
Don't I bet I can spell it.
Go ahead.
Talc,
Talc. That is correct.
Yes. I was hey, when I was that age, I was great at the spelling bee.
Yeah, you would have beat me because I spelled it and I was sitting there thinking it through, and I'm like talc, talc, and I'm like Talk. And they're like, that is incorrect. And I remember just like crumbling, like, oh my gosh,
Oh,
I'm so bad
Lord.
at, I'm so terrible at spelling now. So,
Top 10 in the school, but you put a K on the end of talc.
talc, talc is what did me in. So anyway, when you're battling for competence, those are the experiences of that battleground, right?
Well, I think like I always tell the story of mom showing up to elementary school to sign you and Rex up for the smart kids class and not me. And I was in fifth grade. I was 10 years old. So I was in the thick of this of like, am I good enough? And it just hit me like, oh, yeah, and what it triggered is inferiority. Um, so the virtue to all of this is understanding your competence. Like where you do fit in, where is that value and gaining that competence.
Yep.
Um, okay, stage five. This is really interesting. 12 to 18 years old. Right now I have a 12-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 17-year-old in my house. So we're living in stage five in my house. And
All over the
it's so
place.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so this one is identity versus confusion. Um, teenagers need to develop a sense of personal identity, or be confused about who they are. And this absolutely is the case, no question.
In all sorts of areas of life too.
Yep.
It's not just about competence and what I'm good at anymore. It's more of like the deeper things of how I identify myself are being wrestled for at this time.
Yep. And you'll see things like um, uh, what groups of friends do I attract to and get involved with? That is it shows my identity. How do I dress? How do I act? Like all of these things.
I remember doing work with a kid, a teenage kid. He was right in this stage. He was like 14 years old. And I was driving around and I was just kind of working, doing PSR work, which is like kind of like social skills training work. We're driving somewhere and he turns to me one day and he's like, "What group are you in? Who are you?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, like at school, there's like the preps and there's the stoners and there's the jocks and there's the American badasses." And I'm like, well, he's like, "You're a jock." He like says it with like this like disdain in his voice. He's like, "You got to be a jock or a prep." I'm like, well, actually, maybe a little bit of both. I don't know. Like, who are you? He's like, I'm an American badass.
I'm an American badass. Good for him. He chose the right one, man. He nailed it.
He was fighting for his identity like crazy.
That reminds me, like I was thinking just a week ago, um, one of my regrets in life. I don't know if you remember, but there was this group that came to be in our neighborhood and in our junior high that were known as the Rockers.
Rockers,
They were into Metallica, like Metallica, Guns N' Roses. They wore
Nirvana
black shirts every day, and they all grew their hair out.
had mullets.
And yeah, and I was just like, I wish so bad I could go back and just be a rocker, just be known as a rocker.
That was the identity.
Yeah, it's funny. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
I knew the
Um,
rock. We knew the rockers. We bumped shoulders with the rockers a few times.
a few times, but yeah, they had something figured out. So identity versus confusion, and um, yeah, you'll see some kids really get into that sense of self and know who they are, and then others just really struggling and trying to figure that out for themselves. Um, so okay, should we go on?
Um, yeah, let's continue on. So we did identity confusion. That's 12 to 18. Stage 6 is intimacy versus isolation. Age is 18 to 40. So there's a pretty big gap here with
Most people
Erikson's
are.
stages. But this is really about starting to form intimate and loving relationships with other people, and the virtue is love. And if you
Yeah.
think about that, like from 18 to 40, that seems to be kind of right at the primacy of almost every person that we know. They're trying to figure out what love is.
Yeah, in different ways. So, um, people that get married or struggle to get married or in relationships, if they want a relationship but can't find somebody or can't develop a healthy relationship because of some of their attachment issues, there's feelings of isolation. There's feelings of loneliness, of a lack of something in their life. Same thing with when you have kids and or even your relationships back with your family of origin. Are you feeling more connected to them and do you feel love there or do you feel more
I'm not sure if we might have lost Brannon here for a second. So hopefully we'll get Brannon back here. I don't see him. Looks like he might have cut off on me for a second. So hopefully we'll get him back. But basically, it's that idea of, from 18 to 40 years old, we are looking for deep, meaningful relationships. And the risk is, and this is a big part for us as human beings, back to kind of looking at um, attachment type stuff. The risk is that so many people, as they're battling for this, imagine now this, they've got the shame that they've been trying to navigate. It tells them they're not enough. They're stepping into trying to find someone who they can have deep, meaningful relationships with. And then as that wrestle happens, there's inevitably going to be some failures there, some struggles, some practice, some trial and error. And the risk is feeling totally isolated, which is really scary for us as human beings. It's one of the most painful things that we can experience. But also, on the flip side, that it helps us to develop the virtue of love. And I think it helps us to actually define love so much more than maybe the way we were trained as kids with the Disney kind of love. So yeah, that's a big one. And I think that's one that Brandon and I actually deal with a lot because it's such a high pain point for so many of the couples that we are dealing with when there's been betrayal in the mix, because it pulls the rug out from underneath this very conflict that's going on to try to find and form deep and meaningful relationships. So hopefully Brandon will join back on here in a minute. But stage seven is um, this is where I would probably be, that Erikson would say I am right now, is stage seven is middle adulthood from ages 40 to 65. And stage seven is called generativity versus stagnation. So, what it means to be generative is we become interested in legacy. We become interested in trying to create or build something, to nurture something that will outlast us. This includes creating posterity, children, raising children, contributing to the community, wanting to leave a mark on the world. This is where we spend a lot of our time and energy, and this plays out with the statistics that we are the most successful and we hit our highest earning potential during this stage of life financially. So this is where you kind of go from John Eldredge talks about this kind of in a different language when he's talking about his book about men called Fathered by God. He talks about a transition from going from a warrior to a king. And in that sense, that's what you're navigating is early on, you're like scrapping it out. You're worried about love. You're worried about other things. But then as you kind of get established, you kind of create what you're good at. You've had your identity sort of settle in, and then you start thinking about what am I going to do to leave an impact on this world? Now, if I don't navigate that, then I can become extremely depressed. And that's where stagnation comes in. Things feel like they slow down. I'm left kind of like in this midlife crisis place where that's what midlife crisis really is you're looking back at your world and going, huh, have I left anything meaningful behind? Is my life like worth anything? What's it all for? And a lot of times people, this is why you see the midlife crisis come in is like we're scrambling looking for ways to find meaning, purpose, to feel alive, to feel vibrant in life again. And what we're really doing is we're navigating this stage of generativity versus stagnation. And so the more that I feel like I'm going into stagnation, the more panic and depression I'm going to have about what the whole meaning and purpose of life is. The virtue that gets developed is care, and that I develop a deeper sense of caring when I navigate this one effectively. And if I don't navigate it effectively, then I sink further and further into purposelessness. And then you see a lot of other mental health issues come up with that. So the last stage here is stage eight, and this is from 65 years to death. And this is integrity versus despair. Um, this is where you kind of, John Eldredge just calls it moving to the stage of being the sage, where you start to reflect back on your life, your accomplishments. Um, and people who can look back on their life and their accomplishments and feel like they've had a life well lived, they achieve what Erikson calls ego integrity. It's like a feeling of congruence. There's a feeling of deep satisfaction. There's a feeling of like acceptance and completeness. And those who get stuck in this stage, who don't feel that sense of ego integrity, they often kind of drop deep into despair. And I don't think it's an accident that when you look at like these stages and you look at statistics on suicide, the most lethal suicide is, the early age, 18 to 28-ish. But then the second highest rate for suicide is actually among elderly people. And, if you've lived your whole life dreaming about things and trying to move towards something, and then you're looking back on your life and feeling like you didn't accomplish what you were designed for, you're not living the life that God intended you for, that despair can be really, really painful. And that despair will lead to bitterness sometimes, cynicism, criticism. It can also lead to just complete depression. But if I can look back at my life and say, basically, I've done everything I can to be successful, number one, and I've done everything I can to like align myself with my values and live a congruent life with my values, then I'm looking back at my life and I'm recognizing that I've in essence, even the bumps and the bruises now take on new meaning because of what they created me to be and the stories that I now have to share with my posterity and the people that matter to me. Um, and so the virtue is wisdom in this last stage, where wisdom is wisdom is earned. Wisdom is kind of the culmination of the lessons that I've learned over the fact that I've been in the arena of life fully engaged in living it. And so right now I'm probably, talking about generativity versus stagnation. That's the age group I'm in, but that's also part of what's kind of hitting me right now. And that's maybe why Brandon wanted to talk about this today is um, I'm gonna get a little bit emotional maybe, but it just kind of hits you differently when you wake up and you realize that what you see in your mind's eye is a little girl putting on princess dresses and cowboy boots and running around. And that little girl is now having a new baby, and you realize pretty quickly that you're moving into a new stage of life, and you hope that you're going to be the kind of grandfather that can't wait to share his life and the lessons that he's learned and the stories that he has with a brand new child that's coming into this world. And that's the navigation of those stages. And so we're kind of turning the chapter right now. And it's kind of a special time. It's funny how life kind of offers us those opportunities for transition sometimes. And if you guys are relating to any of these stages, I just challenge you to number one, be compassionate and kind with yourselves first about wherever you're at and realize that wherever you're at is probably right where you should be. And to know that it's going to be all right. You know, I know there's a comedian, Tom Papa, he gives this little bit. It's so funny. He's talking about how so many people are so worried about everything. They're worried about their weight, they're worried about their looks, they're worried about who they're going to marry, they're worried about, and he's like, he tells the story of like going into his daughter's room late at night. He's like, I can't just go into my daughter's room and like sit there at 3 in the morning staring at her and be like, tell me it's gonna be okay. It's like, but we all feel that existential threat from time to time. He's like, I just got news for you. He's like, that's life. You're gonna be okay. Like it's gonna be okay. And I think that's the message maybe to think about today is that it's wherever you're at, you're probably right where you should be. Give yourself some grace and then realize that there's virtues that you're developing right now wherever you're at, regardless of your circumstance. So, Brandon, I got you back, man.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I came back just in time to hear you. That was awesome, and um, it just makes me think about as we reflect on life, um, those that the feeling that I'm feeling from you of gratitude and love and appreciation for the development of life. There's something bigger about these stages of development. And I think that's accepting the nature of what we're doing here is that we get to go through all of these things and experience all of these things and to watch you kind of cross a threshold today is exciting, but it is a moment to stop and reflect on all the learning. like every stage throughout that process. Um, I just got cut off because my kids won't get off the TV, so they're home for fall break, and my wife just unplugged the internet, just like you're done, and unplugged the internet. And we're in a certain stage of life, like me and my
That
wife are at a
is
stage, my kids are at a stage, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
insane.
Um,
It reminds me of like I think it happened like probably multiple times, but being down in Farron, Utah at Uncle Doug's and Aunt Pumpkin's place, and over their like speakers in
this
their
is
house.
this is Biggs's house. This is Biggs's
Biggs'
house.
house. This is Biggs' house. Speaker's house on Sunday morning. Uncle Doug thinks he's funny and he puts on this talk, and all it says over the speakers of the house is like, "Our children, our greatest joy, our greatest problem," or something like that. Like some talk,
Our greatest challenge.
the greatest challenge. And Uncle Doug's laughing, and then like a week later, he's going down and like cutting the cord to the like Xbox because they're or the Nintendo because they're playing too much. Like that was the stage of life they were at right then, right? But that really is what it is. And what you said, Brandon, those stages really do offer. They offer us a ton. And to go along with what Uncle Doug, of course, I can't end this episode without referencing Uncle Doug used to call my daughter something. It was around a Kenny Chesney song, right? And Kenny Chesney nailed Erikson stages with the good stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So he'd always call me up and he'd be like, "Hey T," he's like, "How's the good stuff?"
Go
Meanwhile,
listen to the
he's like,
good stuff.
meanwhile, I just had a huge battle with her where she got grounded from wearing princess dresses for 2 days because she was talking back to her mom or something. I'm like, the good stuff is sassy right now. So
Yeah,
anyway, it's you guys, it's all the good stuff. It's good stuff.
yeah, yeah. Tyler, thank you for holding it down for me while I disappeared for a minute, and I knew you'd do fine. So, um, congratulations on everything that's going on. I can't wait to meet the baby
Fingers
myself.
crossed. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. So, all right, you guys, if this was helpful, please leave us a review, share it, and until next time, keep on keeping on.